So we'll call this meeting, this May meeting of the City of Burlington's Historic Preservation Commission to order. Yeah, do you want to do a roll call?
Sure. Chair Pennington.
Here.
Vice Chair Van Osculer.
Here.
Member Williams.
Here.
Member Casement is currently absent. Member Siler.
Here.
Member Benson.
Here.
And Member Warren.
Here.
Our next item of business is the approval of the minutes. Are there any provisions or changes to the minutes suggested?
Motion to approve?
Motion approved, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great, minutes are approved. Thanks for those. Those minutes required some reconstruction. I could tell from reading, so thank you for that. Third, there are no major COAs on the agenda for this meeting, but Jamie, would you like to talk about, is this the time to talk about?
Yeah, we can probably talk about just, Bree will be sending out a quorum check for the next meeting, but if you could check your calendars even before you leave, that's always helpful too. We did get a request for a special meeting, and this is a little unusual. We don't normally have special meetings, but this is for a major COA. I think it's 405 West Davis, if I recall the address correctly. It would be for you to consider a new shed and a carport all in the back of the property. There may have been some miscommunication or misunderstanding by the applicant, and they thought they were on the meeting agenda for tonight. But there's some time constraints with their project. And so they have asked me to ask you if you all could consider a special meeting. Due to the timing of of all of this, it would have to be during the week of May 26th, Monday being Memorial Day. So I told her I would ask. So if you don't mind, again, checking, well, A, are you willing to do that? B, check your calendars to see if we can get a quorum together.
Yeah, good. So no COAs this month on this agenda, but someone has requested that we meet soon to handle an application that they would like to move through quickly. Is there any discussion there? People want to check their calendars and they get an email from Brooke, and then we'll see. So we'll need 4 people for quorum. We know at least one person on the commission is at her last meeting right now, is that right?
Yeah, so she has officially resigned. This is like her last meeting, and so she is the only one who would not be required to if they can attend.
Okay.
And then for like y'all,
If I just rotate off because I'm not reapplying,
well, until
wouldn't I still be a commissioner for the month of May?
Yes, until new members are appointed, you stay on the commission.
Okay.
So even if it's say June and they haven't appointed somebody yet, you would still meet for that.
I may be out of town for the regular
right.
June
As long as
meeting, but I
you're
might be able to do this special thing if that would help them.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Y'all can just tell me at the end of the meeting as well. If you're available.
Okay.
Does a special meeting have to be on a Tuesday or just any day?
Any day that week.
Any day that week, okay.
Except for the Monday, because that's a holiday.
Right.
The municipal building is closed.
Okay. I'm in that week. I'm out for the June meeting though.
You're out for the June meeting?
I think I could do Tuesday the 27th, but I think I'm out for the June meeting.
Okay, so that would mean that we would probably want to try to schedule this special meeting if we could, because we'll be down definitely at least 2 in June and down Juliana.
We definitely have a couple COAs for June, so we'll see if we can work our magic and get everybody together on one calendar day.
Yeah, but are those COAs in a state where they could be on the agenda for the special meeting?
Where we would try to accomplish that.
Okay.
Yeah. No guarantees, but yeah.
Okay,
Because also, keep in mind that we have our regular calendar and we have our regular deadlines, so
yeah,
even, so there is still, you know, the other rolling, it's a rolling calendar in
Right.
terms of applications coming in.
right, yeah, yeah. But for things to be on the June agenda, notification needs to go out
Right.
soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
10 days prior.
10 days prior. Yeah, good. Okay, so we'll settle that issue soon. On to new business. Our first item of business is the Minitree Pine Award nomination.
Yeah, so I'll just present, turn the stage, for this, and, the property owners are in the audience, so we're honored.
Welcome.
Say ugly things.
Welcome, welcome.
All right, so we had, one nomination, this year. It's for 1007 West Davis Street. Just as a reminder for those who have not participated in this award in the past, I'll just read what I can in terms of the background of Pine Tree Pine, and other commission members can add to that too. So the Pine Tree Pine Award was established in the early 1990s, and it recognizes property owners for their efforts to preserve the character and timeliness of the city of Burlington. Pine Tree Pine was a resident of Burlington and lived on Fountain Place. He was called the city's first modern preservationist. The Pine Tree Pine Awards were established in the early 1990s, and again, recognize historic preservation throughout the city. Sometimes we have combination of residential and non-residential award nominees. Doesn't necessarily have to be even in the local historic district, but that's kind of the background. So every year since that time, I believe, there's been award nominations. And so this year, we've got 1007 West Davis Street. I will flip through. Everybody have the information that was provided in the packet and had the opportunity to take a look at it? Okay. So, let's see if I can read this, but the property itself was known as the W.T. Chatham House. And W.T. Chatham was, the house was built in 1925 by Edwin C. Holt, who was a grandson of Edwin M. Holt and founder of several of the local cotton mills. It was built for his daughter and his son-in-law, whom were also involved in the local textile operations. And if anyone has driven past it, you will know that it's known for its Mediterranean style, classical Mediterranean style, and it's one of the most unusual homes in Burlington. There are a number of features that are associated with the home that really makes it stand out, not only in the district, but within the city. So these are just some clippets from the survey that got sent to the state when applying for the local historic district back in the 1980s, late 1980s, and describes the property in various places in the report itself. And I just highlighted where I found the references to it. This is also a clippet of, we've got property cards, and so this is a property card that shows the property itself and some of the more significant architectural features. Then what follows is an excerpt from the property owner in terms of their comments and the work that has been done on the property. And they're certainly here to provide additional information and answer questions that you might have. Following that, you can tell there's a pretty significant amount of work that has been done But we also ask the applicant to come up and just maybe talk about some of the highlights that they have done. So would you both like to come up? Sure. Okay.
I said when we were beginning to write this up that we lived from 1983 till 1993, a few blocks up the street at 1204 West Davis Street, in what was called the Barnwell House when we were here, and loved it and loved the neighborhood and knew this house, but I really didn't know who lived there. And admired it. After our son had relocated here and my first two grandchildren were here, I began looking at real estate in Burlington and would always be looking at the historic district and surrounds. And this house was on the market, as you may remember, for a little over a year. And I kept going, why has nobody bought this house? I think this is just such a wonderful house. And I was talking to Robert about it as we were coming back from a short weekend trip. And he said, well, why don't we go up there and see it? Well, there's a funny story about that visit, which I will tell you at some other time. But suffice it to say that it was right in the middle of COVID. And the desire to see the house, to not contaminate the house or be contaminated by the house plays into that story. But when we saw it, we were very taken with it. I mean, it has the kinds of appointments that you just can't build these days. And wonderful floors, wonderful substantial walls. And in fact, when we decide, well, I'll get to your point in a minute, but we decided that we were going to try to not even break into these walls in the interior in any way. We saw that we had to in one place, and we saw that when you looked in, these are concrete block walls. And they are stuffed with straw. And no one on our crew or no one who was talking to us about the house had ever seen anything like that. But clearly, and you know this in this house when you're there is enormous amounts of insulation, not the kind that we're all used to seeing blown in or the pink stuff, but this is the real stuff. And the house has certainly remained in great shape for the length of time that it's been inhabited. We really wanted to do as little as was humanly possible. So it wasn't a matter of you guys or other people talking to us about, please don't do these things. We were trying to do nothing. And we were successful in doing nothing on the outside that is visible. And that makes us happy because there was no way that you would look at that house and say, oh, a little tweak here and it'll be better. It is as perfect for its type as it can be. And so what you want to do is not mess with it. But on the inside, we did knock down a few walls to consolidate about 5 little rooms that sort of adjoined the kitchen because we did want it to be a very livable house for us and our grandchildren and gathering the family there. And but again, when you look at materials today that are quality materials that are very popular, they just fit right in that house. You don't have to, worry about not being able to get things that work. When we first saw the house, I thought, well, now I might want to get rid of that red tile floor that's in the sunroom, because it's kind of cracked up and it's kind of dirty in the grout and so forth. And I don't know if that's going to work with everything else that I want to do. And I sort of felt the same way about the front porch, because it was all red tile. And as I also commented, we had never had a Mediterranean house, hadn't studied Mediterranean houses. I had a good time doing that. But the red tile certainly was appropriate for the style of the house. And the longer we worked on it, the more I realized I really didn't want to move. I didn't want to cover it up or, change it out for something like slate or limestone or something. Just didn't want to do that, because I really loved it. And so both floors remain, and after a good cleaning, the house had some linoleum tile put down in the kitchen area and in an adjoining area. And we crossed our fingers and hoped that when we pulled that up, the hardwoods would be under there, and they were. And it took lots of work. But I must tell you that having lived in Charlotte for 30 years, 35 years, the time between the Barnwell house and the Cheatham house, you have such wonderful craftsmen that are still in this town, and they're such treasures. The team that laid the tile that we put into the bathrooms and the kitchen were just phenomenal, and so proud of their work and so happy to be working on that house. And the wonderful man who refinished the floors is a treasure. He wanted to get it just like I wanted it, and he kept showing me samples long after I was satisfied. Do you think this might be a little better? And he just did a wonderful job. And when he saw the floor after they had ripped up the vinyl in the sunroom area, I looked at it and went, oh no, what are we gonna do? And he said, don't you worry, I'm gonna get this stuff up. I mean, it was really a mess. And he got it all up. And then he said, but I'm gonna have to patch it over there in the corner. And I'm going, oh gosh. And you would never know. I mean, it's just really incredible to me. Certainly I know that wonderful craftsmen exist in other places, but somehow they aren't really accessible to anyone but architects and others. And I don't get that feeling here. And I was just so taken with their work. And a lot of credit goes to the people who recruited these folks. John Fraser, who some of you may know, who's just a wonderful human being and I said I have remodeled several houses, and I really don't speak to any of my contractors from the previous renovation. I don't go out of my way to say anything about them and don't invite them over for dinner, but we have nothing to do with each other anymore. And I would hope that John would always be a friend. He is so easygoing and really wants things to be done well. And there was an area that needed to have this wonderful molding reproduced that was in the rest of the house. And he was so excited about being able to do that. And he did it, and you wouldn't know where the old was and where the new was. So we offer these comments to say that we love being back in Burlington, and we love this house, and we hope that there'll be an opportunity for it to be opened and enjoyed. We're at the age where, as Robert's dad said when he was about our age, either your mom or I are usually in the shop, and so we've been having some ups and downs health-wise, but we really want to be able to have the house be opened to the neighborhood and to others, yeah.
Can I say one thing?
You may certainly say one thing.
Well, it'll take a while.
No. It's about the house, not, you know.
No, I was just like you and me have been, that I was a lawyer,
Yep,
you know, and I used to do things, and she took us from Charlotte to
back to Burlington.
Burlington. And finally, I quit
Right,
doing anything about
the law work.
the law.
Right, finally got him out of there. Had to separate him from it.
No,
But, yeah. But he always talked about Burlington and loved Burlington and enjoyed being an integral part of the community when we were here. But so we took longer than we expected, and we particularly thought that we were going to be doing some things to the kitchens and some things to update the bathrooms, but we didn't think we would be touching so many of the systems of the house. But in the end, we ended up replacing them all. It's just one of those things that happens. I mean, you're kind of glad you didn't know it going in because you might have not done it, you know, and when it's over, you're glad you have done it. But the house had wonderful steam heat, and we were kind of excited about what was being said about the steam heat. But it turns out that that was going to be a medical issue for Robert. And so we said, well, don't get a choice. And so it now has a very up-to-date heating and cooling system with the world's finest filters and all those kinds of things. So you, if you have asthma or allergies and you need somewhere to sit, come on by. We'll be in the living room. It's clean air.
that's all that's going to happen.
It's clean air. It's clean air. And, you know, we knew that there might be some knob and tube electrical, but they didn't look like there was going to be much, and there really wasn't much. But once you get started, you can't interchange it. So we ended up doing all the plumbing, all the electrical, all the heating and air, and so it was
Forgot
much,
about that.
yeah, shh. and you know, it was quick and inexpensive. No, but we really do feel that we have a new house that has such wonderful character, and we've tried to maintain that. I did give credit to John, but I must also give credit to Bill Moser. He's a long-term friend of ours, and he actually worked on an addition for 1204, and then he went down to Charlotte with us and worked on stuff when we moved to Charlotte. And so it was just, you know, so perfect and natural. When he had retired, I said, you can't retire. And I said, because I wanted to ask you this. And he said, and if you hadn't asked me, I would be so upset. And I said, so you're going to do it? He said, oh, yeah, we're going to do this. And you know that he lives in the historic district and has great taste and great sensibility. So he was a guiding light through the whole thing. And I think you saw him when we were bringing in things that needed to be done. So anyway, that's it. I'd love to answer any questions that you have. I wrote about, and I hope you will come by sometime. This is kind of over now, but the people who lived in the house most recently built beautiful gardens in the back, and I worried a lot when we were doing all this renovation, because as hard as you try, there's just always stuff everywhere, you know, things that are coming out or things that are going in. And I really felt like we were trashing this most beautiful garden. And last year, it started coming back, and this year, it just came back. And I felt like it was such a gift. Yes.
There's something else.
The Harpers, can we tell them about the Harpers? Okay, all right. That were the last.
Any of you who may have seen us for that
House.
house,
Uh-huh.
we have another house do what they got, they were the second. There used to be something second, but we quit and
Right,
worked on
right. It-
everything
Right.
else.
They-
You know,
The backyard had in it 2 structures, and one was under a roof that was maids' quarters, and Sandy, I just said her last name, didn't I? Huh? No, no, oh gosh, I just said her last name. Harper, Sandy Harper, grew up in that house, and her mother was living there. And when her mother died, she and her husband moved in. He was a Navy guy, and I mean like an admiral or something. And they were living on Front Street when we were here, living up there those 10 years. And she and I both worked on the Centennial, which took place in 92, 93. And so I met her then. And so when I came to look at the house, the realtor said, we had another offer, believe it or not, this weekend on that house after all these months. But I told Sandy that you were coming to look at it, and she said, I don't even want to look at that other offer. I want Kay to have this house. And I said, Sandy who? And he said, and then he told me how to pull that together, and I was so surprised. So surprised, because I had known her only for a couple of years and had not associated her with this house at all. But we have enjoyed developing our friendship since we've been back. And she now calls me her little sister. And if I can be anybody's younger sister, I think this is a great thing. And she comes over and fills me in. And if anybody ever wanted to see them, she has brought me wonderful scrapbooks of the life of her family in that house. And so there are lots of things there. Just I have to tell you this. Among the things we took out that I wished I could keep and figure out what to do with, if you came in the back door, the kitchen was very small, as they were in those years, and they had put the washing machine in there as well. And then there was a little bar area, and then there was a little area with another separation that was like a breakfast room. And then there was the sauna room. And I said, what's this? And they said, well, you know, that was Mama's office. And Mama kept the books for the mill. And so in addition to having her laundry and her kitchen and her bar and her dining table area, she had this little room. And in there was this safe, this big. And, you know, it had all the bells and whistles. Looked like something Al Capone would have been very interested in. And they said that they paid all of the workers in cash every Friday. And so she was in there counting out the money and putting it in envelopes. And isn't that wild to think about how all of that fit together? But we feel really lucky to be, for however long we are able to be, and we hope it's a very long time, the owners and inhabitants of this wonderful house. And that's more than you wanted to hear, I'm sure.
That's good.
Thank you so much. Are there questions for the Norrises?
I have a comment. I am so thrilled to meet all 3 of you. I absolutely adore this house. I was shopping for homes in the summer of 2021.
Okay.
And I almost wrote an offer on this house because we called it the Gatsby House.
Okay.
And I sing in a 1920s influenced jazz band.
Yes.
So I had this vision, oh my goodness, we're going to have the most crazy jazz parties and all of that.
We still can.
Well, I ended up not not too far down the street from you. I'm at 622 West Davis. It was just more house than I could bite off, you know. I have 2 kids who were heading towards college, and I knew I was gonna have those expenses coming up and all that. But it is the most wonderful house, and I just was so gratified to see everything you have done to this place, and I never could have afforded renovations at that level. And the way you have taken this place and, you know, modernized it, but kept all of the, you know, the bones. And I think about, like, there were just show-stopping things about this house that you have kept and in fact highlighted. That library, conservatory sunroom with the curved glass.
And do you know?
It's just an amazing house.
Someday, I really want to return it to what, looking in the notebooks that Sandra left me, the scrapbooks, that was like one of those English conservative.
Yes.
It was rounded, and it had.
I mean, to me, that's why it's the Gatsby house. It's just like so much detail there that's just gorgeous.
There, clearly something had happened, and there were just panes up there, and those panes had been filled in with plastic. So we got the plastic out, and we got, you know, the cut. So it is what it was, and all glass, and we were able to get some seated glass and all that. But it, you know, if I could someday afford and find out how to get the big curve.
The curved glass is just unbelievable. And then all the library shelves with the, you know, library ladders and all of that. It's like something out of a, I don't know, Orson Welles movie or something.
Did you see the sliding glass doors that divided what is now my dining room and was originally
Yes.
the dining room, and also the sunroom? It has these sliding glass doors. They look like French doors, but they're about that thick, and they still.
You can see on those doors that the glass is thicker at the bottom than at the top.
I don't know that.
As over, like, I seem to have vaguely remember that it's slightly thicker at the bottom because it's been like glass that's been settling. But anyway, just please know how much your restoration of that house is really amazing.
Well, nobody, I mean, we just feel so lucky to have been able to find it and do it. And to
It's a very special, unusual house, for sure.
We were very excited about it. And only 2 people got COVID from our visit.
Well, if you ever need jazz bands, I know lots of musicians, and there's even some that live in the neighborhood.
You're on. You are on. Oh, wow.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate the work you've done, taking the time to tell us about it. Jamie, how do we proceed here?
So I would say you would want to introduce
Yep.
a motion, thank you, to move forward the 1007 West Davis Street property and as an award them.
Recipient of the 2025, yeah.
And this will be, so this is just the informal process.
Right.
Then there'll be a formal process at the May 20th
City council meeting.
Where the mayor and commission chair typically awards the plaque.
Yeah, great.
And that will also be in conjunction with the May the Historic Preservation Month.
Yeah,
There'll be a proclamation on that as well.
right, good, good.
Do we sometimes actually give awards to more than one? I have a vague memory that we've done like a commercial building and a residential in the
Yes.
same year,
Yes, we have.
but I don't know if anyone has other
We didn't receive any
nominations.
other nominations unfortunately this
Yeah.
year, but think about next year.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Good.
I would be happy to table
Is there a
or,
motion?
you know, advance a motion to approve 1007 for Monterey
Great, the
Pine.
2025 Tree Pine. Second? Okay. Do you want to take a roll call vote?
I will be happy to. Chair Pennington?
Aye.
Vice Chair Peeler?
Aye.
Member Benson?
Aye.
Member Seiler? Member Williams?
Aye.
And Member Warren?
Aye.
Okay.
Great.
Unanimous.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Will look forward to seeing you at the May 20th City Council meeting.
Unfortunately, we are not able
Okay.
to be there, but we
Okay,
will be
fine.
well represented.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Think of all the time they just said.
Robert Norris Jr. That's what his name is. It's Robert Brian Norris.
It had to start somewhere.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much for being here. It was great to hear all of those stories.
Thank you.
All right, I've lost the agenda here.
Yes, so, next on the agenda is, we talked about Historic Preservation Month. We will be holding a historic tax credit workshop. As you recall, we received some grant money from the state as part of our CLG accommodation or accreditation. And so Bree has put together she's getting to there we
Looks
are.
like
This is
I'll eventually get there.
So this is the postcard that was sent out. Hopefully, you all received it. And so it's open to the public, June 5th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. here. I guess we'll be downstairs.
Yeah, so it'll be downstairs in the municipal conference room just for ease and because it's during the week. We have about 7 people signed up so far, all from the postcard, because Eventbrite keeps up with that. And then registration will be available up to the day. We do ask that anyone that you tell to have them register, just that way we can have enough seating set up. That room can hold a good number, I think it's like 30 or so, depending on how we set up the seating. So just that we're able to do that, and then the speakers are, will you scroll down?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have Sarah Lockman from 4over1 Design and Megan Sullivan who will be doing the presentation on the tax credits, and I think they told Jamie, or I think Tiki worked on it as well. They're very big in like having people ask questions about their homes or their projects that they're thinking of specifically. So they leave a good portion of time for that. So they will be talking about that. We'll have refreshments as always, but it'll just be downstairs, just kind of sitting, asking questions and going from there.
All right, so it landed on Thursday, June the 5th.
Yes.
At some point, were we talking about doing it before the HPC meeting in
We
June?
had been.
Yeah.
But this simplified it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We didn't have to move
Good.
stuff around, move meetings
Great.
up or anything, so.
great.
I also, on that same note, we do have additional money still available. So one of the, we've been tossing around other ideas and trying to work with Preservation Burlington also, but one of the other ideas that we have on your table is a packet, Preservation North Carolina has sort of like a packet, open it up and it's your display type thing, and the topic is Black architects and builders. And so they have put together, pre-assembled and everything, a whole exhibit to this topic. And so we're thinking that might be a good way to spend additional funds towards educational efforts, and that's really the purpose of the grant that we have right now. We just have to find a good location for it, because it does require open areas, and we were talking before the meeting, maybe even upstairs and downstairs here in City Hall.
Exactly, the library has been mentioned.
Yeah,
It would just have to be somewhere that, like she said, is open, or if it were to be manned, that would just have to be figured out schedule-wise.
and how long do you need the space for? Like, how long will the exhibit?
They said in the materials that it was, I think,
July to September.
6 to 8 weeks.
Okay,
We're also going to reach out to them to see, is that a requirement, or
Yeah.
could it be a shorter period of time? Does it have
Yeah.
to be that large? Could we pare it down a little bit and maybe do a couple different things? So that was one idea.
Do we know if they are able to feature any Black architects or related historic buildings in Alamance County? Or do we know if there are any?
Not for that,
Yeah,
so
we haven't
it's already
gotten to that
pre-made.
stage yet. We're really just trying to, because we do have a deadline.
Yeah.
In which we need to spend the funds.
Yeah.
So this is one of the.
It'd be cool if along with this, we could have, even if it's just a one thing on one wall, more of a permanent, if there's enough funds for it, you know, having just some sort of plaque or feature or pictures.
That could be a future thing.
You know.
The deadline is kind of this June. So we have to have everything wrapped up and submitted by this June, so that would just take more.
Yeah, so
Time
we
that
wouldn't be
we
able to get
have
the
available.
invoices or know exactly.
Yeah, well, and
what that
also
would
just the
cost.
information,
Yeah.
verifying that's correct, all of that kind of stuff. So primarily just going with whatever they have prepared.
If it's possible, you mentioned the July to September window, having it up when schools are in session, like give the opportunity to invite like school
Oh,
groups
that's
or
a good
university
point.
groups or something like that. Like if we're going to do this, you want it to be seen, you want it to be used. Yeah.
So, if you think of any places, we're gonna come up with a plan, I think, and speak to them and see if we can modify it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Do any other spaces come to mind for people? As Jamie said they need 800 square feet.
Paramount Theater?
That's how I was thinking
Or
Paramount, but,
renovation, yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
So there's not even shows happening there right now.
there's not room in the train depot, I guess. They probably wouldn't allow that anyway, I don't know.
The only thing with the train depot or even the historic depot is someone would have to man it, so like someone would have to be up there making sure that people could get in. Because that was the thought that I had was for the historic depot, but there's somebody's office in there, and so like in part of it, so like we could set it up in there, but someone would have to be able to be there, so that's where I was like scheduling wise, like I couldn't be there all the time, she couldn't be there all the time. And with that long of a stretch, it
Yeah.
might be a little tricky to have dates for it to be open
Right.
and all of that.
Right, right.
So that's why primarily like it's like a library or just a room that stays open, but like, you know, except at night, like someone would just go in and close it.
Yeah,
That would be,
yeah. Well, if the upstairs and downstairs here work, I mean, there's traffic through the building, people would
yeah.
see it. There's a lot of parking. It's easy for people to.
Right.
I don't know about a short-term loan, but what about where that bookstore was? in
Oh, yeah,
downtown?
persnickety?
It's open.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
good idea.
I mean, I don't, like we said, we don't want there to be any kind of liability, so there would have to be somebody there.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
a possibility, I guess.
cool. Okay, good. Thanks for that. Thanks for
Has anyone ever heard of or familiar with the African American Cultural Arts and History Center?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm wondering if they might want to, if we could invite them to somehow be,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Our coworker Tiki also has them on her list to contact.
they might be interested in like, if we had an opening event or something like that, having them come and bring a speaker or invite.
Yeah, we had James, Shields.
Yes,
Thank
there you go.
James Shields, from that, museum, I think it actually is called the Alamance County Historic and Cultural Museum. He came and spoke at one of our previous events.
Seems like this would be a really good event to have them send people. I don't know, I wish our commission was more diverse, but to have, you know, to make sure the Black community is represented, you know, in attending and being involved, I guess, some way.
That was another option that we were thinking about, reaching out to them.
See if they have
also
any
see if they have
spaces.
space too,
Mhm.
because we would certainly want to, we could sponsor something. And, so these are just,
Does it need, is it designed to be all in one location? They wouldn't want to split it up across multiple
it's more effective
places.
when it's all, like,
Yeah.
I think that's really, if you look at how in the materials.
I was looking at
it's set
that
up,
layout, yeah.
So I think it would need to be in one building. Like it could be upstairs and downstairs, but it would need to be all encompassed.
We could maybe do it at the courthouse, but that's over in Graham.
we would have to ask them.
Yeah.
If anything else comes to mind, just let us know. So I'll just move along, if that's all right.
Yeah, that's great, thank you.
Okay. I had included in the packet, the historic district old paperwork on the walking tour, and I think at one point we had discussed just kind of bringing this up to date. So this is just an idea for the future, you know, especially as we're not seeing as many major COAs and applications if it's a special project that the commission wants to be involved with. So that's just, some topics that we wanted to discuss.
Yeah, so you're talking about updating this walking tour, and,
There might be other properties.
Yeah.
Or homes to consider. Some
Yeah,
properties.
there definitely are.
May need to be removed, I'm not sure. There also, I don't think, is one for Glencoe Mill Historic District, so that's another option too.
and we don't have any signage anywhere in this district, right? That gives people like a QR code for this or anything?
No,
Yeah.
we don't have anything like that.
Which that could be another, like, we could apply, so like the grant that we have for all the educational stuff, we have to make sure that it is educational, make sure that it's like workshop style, because that was what was specifically
Yeah.
applied for. So we couldn't do signage, but that is something that we could potentially, there's also there's another, I can't remember the name of it right now, but there is like an organization, that does like all like the historic markers. We have one that just says the historic district does like a brief thing, but we could apply for that and do more of them, and that kind of thing, but it would just depend
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
time, and we would probably want to be able to do this, like get the tour out first, and then if homeowners wanted to even like sponsor their own properties, like the people who are just here, like they could want to commission a sign for their property and go on the edge of their property, and you'd be able to scan QR code or look
Yeah.
at it, rate it,
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, cool, good.
So.
All right, awesome.
Okay, next, we don't have any minor COAs. We talked about the special meeting, so just check your calendars. And then we also just wanted to recognize, one of our newer members, but, wonderful contributor and always insightful, and will be missed on the commission very much, Juliana. So appreciate all of your volunteerism and contributions here, and best wishes and Graham. Unfortunately, we'll be losing you, but to their credit, they will be gaining.
I did try to ask, I was like, well, saying she was on the commission before, can she stay? And I was told no. So I did try.
As soon as I can afford a house in Burlington.
I did try. I was like, can we? They were like, no. I was like, okay.
Yeah. I know, I read through everything and I was like, I don't think there's a way around this.
Yeah, they tried.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Juliana.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hope Graham is great. Yeah. So so we think 2 commission members who are due for reappointment or rotating off. That's Christina and Michael, right? And Christina, you think you will rotate off the
I
commission?
probably need to rotate off. I don't necessarily have to do that, like, summertime is okay, but once I
Yeah.
get into the fall,
Yeah,
it's gonna
yeah,
get
yeah.
hairy and ugly again.
Yeah. Will Juliana's seat be eligible for reappointment as well? Okay, all right, so
Yeah.
that's great.
And
So we could
we've already
have,
notified,
Okay,
John
good, good, good.
Berman, And so
Yeah.
as soon as she let me know and we confirmed that there was no way to keep her,
yeah,
we were like, okay, well then it's up for,
Okay,
spots. So
good.
we'll, with her and Michael, are you planning to reapply? Okay, so if he gets reappointed, we'll technically have 2 spots
okay.
available, and they just
What
have
if
to
we
live
try to
in
get one of these speakers that came tonight?
Yeah, they would, yeah, that'd probably be a good addition.
Yeah.
It's on our website,
Yeah.
on social media, so you can mention it to them, and all they have to do is apply, and y'all all apply, so it's not an intense process, and so
Yeah.
if they get considered by city council, they will be on the commission.
Yeah, great. Is there any other new business?
Do we want to?
Want to check calendars?
Yeah.
Try to do that now?
Yeah, I
We
think,
can adjourn.
I'm good for the week of the 26th.
Yeah, okay.
Let's adjourn and then we. can-
Okay, can I
I
have a
may be
motion?
gone that Monday, but if it's Tuesday, I think I can do it. What is that, the 27th?
That's 26th is Tuesday.
26th, I think I can do that Tuesday.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Okay.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned? Okay, now,
I was
thank
like,
you.
now we can talk, because then I don't have to write it all down in minutes. And then we don't have to have that, like, legally put in. So, for May, the week that week in May,
Wait, the 27th is Tuesday, you're right.
27th would be that
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
So Michael, you're available.
Yeah.
Stephen, you're available. Brian,
Yes.
Russ. Okay, so we have 4.
Okay, so then we will schedule a special meeting for May 27th at 7 PM. And we will see what we can do about making it not just one.
Yes. Okay, all right.
Now, with that said, so for the June
I'm out for June 10th meeting.
10th, you're out. Anyone else?
I am most likely out, but I'm not certain yet.
Who is available?
I think I'm available.
Lauren?
I am not available.
Yeah.
Penny?
So we can't be grouped up. Because even if Paceman could come, we're
That's
that's
just
3.
three.
Happy to zoom you in. Yeah, I'm here, but we may not have a quorum. We may not.
We will not have,
Yeah.
so far only 3.
So-
Potentially,
so-
we would know for sure. One is
Yeah.
not here to confirm.
Right. Ideally, then, we'd get those other
That would be
two.
June 10th, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
get those other 2 COAs on that agenda.
Depending upon
I have a
what
conference that week.
happens with the others, we may be asking for another special meeting.
Yeah,
We just, obviously, we are trying to accommodate those who are trying to do work on their properties, and we do our best
Yeah.
to get that done.
yeah, we
So-
don't like to hold people up if we don't have to.
So we'll, maybe when we get there, we'll pick a couple of dates and send it in the email, and you can reply back to Bree with your availability.
Okay. Bree, will you send a calendar invitation or reminder about the 27th?
Yep.
Great, great. All right, I think that's all. Thanks, everyone.